Hail, weary podcast traveler and well met. I see your adventure through the depths of the internet has led you here to sliding into the DMs. Now, this is not a podcast for the dirty boys, as the name implies, but rather a D&D advice and creative concepts podcast where these three nerds take your questions, suggestions, and pop culture influences to turn them into playable content, making goofs all along the way. This show is for everyone, from level 1 adventurers just stepping into the realm of D&D to the level 19 Dragon Slayer. Their aim is to help both players and DMs alike. Even Gary Gygax needed help sometimes. Just ask Dave Arneson. So step into our tavern, take off your cloak of elvenkind, and spend some time sliding into the DMs. Roll for initiative.
16.
Nat 1.
12.
12. All right, looks like I started us out, guys. Thank you for joining us here on Sliding into the DMs. I am Bruce, the mad scientist.
And I'm Nick, the stat puncher.
And I'm Trevor, the continuity conductor.
All right, boys. Well, since I started and I have the wheel, let's steer on over here to the Bruce's ill-advised creature creation corner. Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, 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 pew.
You know, when you said you had the wheel, I really was scared you were just going to yank it hard left and go straight off the cliff.
That's basically what I just did. So, as we're free-falling, I need Nick, roll a d4.
A D4, got it.
Yes, sir.
4.
4. So we're going from a spell list. From the spell list, I need Trevor to roll a d12 for me.
D12.
Okay. 10.
10.
Fucking 10. I give it a 10.
Thaumaturgy. All right. So thaumaturgy, and now Trevor, roll a d20.
It's another 10.
Another 10.
Another 10.
Ooh.
It's a reference to Varsity Blues, if you've never seen that movie. Billy Bob gives it a fucking 10.
A 10. Now I do. Now I remember. That would be a spider. A thaumaturgy spider.
Thaumaturgy spider.
So, I don't know if the stat puncher has it pulled up already, but...
I'm getting there.
Yeah. What are you looking up so I can look up the other one?
I'm looking up spider right now.
All right, I'll look up thaumaturgy so we can get the official rules on it.
You got it.
Stand by.
I'm naming the spider Miss Davis.
So what kind of spider do we want to go on with this aside from thaumaturgy? We want like a basic normal spider, a swarm of spiders? Are we thinking, I don't know, a giant spider, frost spider?
Let's look at what thaumaturgy means, and we'll base our decision off of that. What do you think?
Okay, well, thaumaturgy, I know just from gameplay, is the spell that allows you to make your voice real loud or make other small sensory effects. And
so, here, I'll read the actual description. It says, thaumaturgy. You manifest a minor wonder, a sign of supernatural power within range. You create one of the following magical effects within range. Your voice booms up to 3 times as loud as normal for 1 minute. You cause flames to flicker, brighten, dim, or change color for 1 minute. You cause harmless tremors in the ground for 1 minute. You create an instantaneous sound that originates from a point of your choice within range, such as a rumble of thunder, a cry of a raven, or an ominous whisper. You instantaneously cause an unlocked door or window to fly open or slam shut. You alter the appearance of your eyes for 1 minute. If you cast this spell multiple times, you can have up to 3 of its 1 minute effects active at a time. You can dismiss such an effect as an action. So that's pretty cool. It's got a 30-foot range, and each one of those little effects lasts for up to a minute.
So it's kind of like
Hagrid's giant spider in Harry Potter.
How so?
The way he booms his voice when they're in the cave, when all the spiders and everything are coming out, it kind of causes little trembles and shakes, earthquake almost, as all these little spiders are moving. I don't know.
I guess. I don't think the voice booming one is going to work for our spider. The flames to flicker, brighten, dim, or change color for a minute might be something fun to play with.
I'm thinking almost like a trickster spider that goes around and instead of setting up a web to wait for its food or to sit in a cave and hunt and jump out at it. I imagine this one being more of it creates a small trap and uses its magical thaumaturgy to scare its prey into its trap somehow. Maybe it builds a small pit with a small web to catch it.
Kind of like a trapdoor spider.
Yeah, kind of like it. But instead of waiting to jump out, it stands, elsewhere, and then will cause lights to flash maybe behind its prey, or it'll like come in, it'll like have a little door that slams shut behind it, maybe another trap door elsewhere that makes it look like a jump to make it run.
Yeah.
And it does it to kind of corner its prey and confuse it, and that way it can almost direct it, and it hunts it without actually having to hunt it.
I like that a lot. I got this really cool image in my head of it being like a cave door opening, and there's little bits of webs everywhere, but it creates the effect of like someone carrying a torch running into the cave, and then once the party follows them, boom, it's behind them, and now they have to fight their way out of the cave. But I was also thinking, do you guys know what a Wendigo is?
Sure do.
It's a Native American myth, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was known to mimic the voices of people of the tribe. And so it would try and lure people out so that it can kill and eat them. And then it would adopt their voice as well to try and get others. So that's what I was thinking with this thaumaturgy of like creating a sound or audible noise of like someone crying, or because it's a spider and it's trapped people, I imagine it using the ability to mimic their cries off in the distance to distract people or get them to try and go after and see who's crying or try and help them. Because, every brave adventurer and anyone traveling on the road would be like, well, shoot, that person needs help, or, hey, that's someone I can take advantage of. And I think that'd be really cool to get this spider to be kind of like the haunt of the woods or something like that, where it has these audible sounds, and maybe it has like it steals people's firewood or pieces of their firewood that are lit in the camp, and then drops them elsewhere and makes them flicker brighter and has the crying sound. And I think if we give this thing 3 different thaumaturgy abilities, it could really make this theater of, well, look, there's someone over here who's in danger, go help them, but really it's a trap. What do you guys think?
Well, I like that a lot. My hang up right now is I'm trying to figure out, does a single spider, you think? Like, is it just one big spider that hunts large prey? Are we thinking it's something on the prime material plane, or do you think it's in another plane of existence, maybe?
I think
maybe a swarm of spiders that hunt together, or you like climb up on top of each other. Almost, I'm thinking, have you guys seen the movie Little Nicky?
Yes.
When his body turns into a bunch of spiders and reforms.
Yeah.
I'm thinking with thaumaturgy, it can use its masses of spiders to climb and crawl on top of itself, and then use it to create like light sensories or cast shadows of itself in different forms.
I see.
Onto a path. So it's thousands of little spiders.
I kind of like
but
that.
they cast thaumaturgy together to create lights that create a shadow behind a tree. And that almost like puts out the form of a man or some type of beast that would be in the woods that they're from.
Yeah.
And again, with the mimicry, like the mimicry of people that are being eaten or trapped and scared, but also like the more brave people that they subdue would, maybe be more brash and avast ye, or...
The creating the lights, I think that's prestidigitation. Thaumaturgy is specifically affecting things that are already there, other than creating sounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of it being like thousands of tiny spiders that create one creature, because that makes it way more creepy. Like if it's like this man basically standing in front of you, and he dissolves into 1,000 spiders.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you run up on that little campfire that the guys made, and then they're all casting this crying thing. Or maybe it's both. Maybe it's one like medium-sized spider, like the size of like a Labrador.
Okay.
And then the rest of them are all parasite-type spiders, where like they obey the queen spider, and the queen spider's making all the decisions, and they're the drones just following through on it. So I think you could do that, and then like Trevor had said, could you imagine running up on a campsite where you hear someone crying, and as you walk up behind this figure who looks to be hunched over by the fire in a cloak, and as you get closer, it just dissolves.
A small cloak, shadowy cloaked small child whimpering next to a fire as the flicker's just right, with thaumaturgy controlling the flame, and the lightness dimming and brightening, and
as you get closer, the fire gets dimmer, just enough to where you can see the silhouette melt into the ground, and then all of a sudden you're standing there.
It goes out. They puff the fire out. You reach to touch its shoulder, and then they just ascend your arm, climbing over you. And then what do you have to do next? Dexterity save, strength save, something to keep them off of you.
Man, and then swarm tactics in creatures is so fun, because you're slashing and you're bludgeoning, you just basically go out the window. And now it has to be like AoE effects, or you have to just get the hell out of there as fast as you can. I really like that.
It also opens up another tool for the DM to use, which is health bars. So where you give them whatever their total health is, you divide it into, say, 12 different health bars. And every time their health falls below a certain level, you have a percentage of the swarm left, so that when you have that little bit of swarm left and it gets smaller and smaller, it does less and less damage and has less mobility and features. Mm-hmm. So it almost wears down and gets weaker and weaker, but it also gives it the option to where the swarm can split and you go into 2 parties or 4 parties.
Yeah.
And things like that to really subdue someone and cancel out the party's effectiveness against each other or against it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. There's another thing here. It says you can create the sound within range, such as rumble of thunder, a cry of a raven, or an ominous whisper. Like, ooh, creepy. You hear him crying. You hear this person or kid crying next to this campfire, and then as you get closer and the fire dims, you go to touch its shoulder, and all of a sudden, instead of crying, you're hearing all around you, just in every direction, just. And it's just like, oh, you don't know where to go, you don't know where to run, you know what the hell happened. Like, I love that. So what should we name it?
If you didn't have arachnophobia before this,
sorry guys,
you will now.
Yeah, got him. I love the Haunt of the Woods. I like that idea.
I feel like Haunt of the Woods would almost be better for almost like a side quest name to involve these spiders.
That's true.
I feel like we need to come up with separate names for the queen spider and the spider drones.
Okay. So, the ghastly queen, and then I like just the drones.
The drones, what if we call them the dissolving children?
Ooh, the ghastly queen and her dissolving children.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's...
What do you think, Boyle?
I think that's amazing.
I love it.
The ghastly
so
queen. So
creepy. So what is the aesthetic that we see here? Is it like an octopus, where it's got kind of like a weird texture to the skin and almost like helps it adopt those different textures that it needs? Is it furry like a wolf spider? Is it
chitinous like a widow or an
chitinous
orb
like a
weaver?
widow? Yeah. I'm thinking maybe the queen is kind of like that shiny, hardened, like chitinous armor, like a widow, but the children still have this light fuzz to them that kind of helps break up their image. And then as they get older or bigger, as the queen dies and the new queen starts to take over and grow and mature, it starts to lose its kind of like baby fur, its peach fuzz, you know? And as color scheme, I think that the queen will be totally pitch black, because I imagine that that's where they get a lot of their...
Okay, so I was actually thinking more of a translucent type of chitin, where they're see-through. You can almost see their internal organs and their being and stuff from
slightly
the inside.
Opaque. Ooh, I like that too.
Definitely, I imagine the queen not coming out in sunlight, being more of an underground cave dweller, have a network of hollowed out dead trees in its lair.
Oh, in a cave structure or a dungeon? This would be freaking amazing.
Like a small cave that acts as the doorway to its dungeon. Ooh. But eventually the caves lead out to almost like an open area with, a half-cragged mountain opening that it lives in with trees and stuff, and there's networks of hollow trees that she can send her dissolving children out through and also climb into and spy on things around it to access and
I love it.
Cast thaumaturgy.
Yeah, I love it.
And so this also opens up to a big boss fight, so where we can give it layer actions too. Yeah. That's something we haven't done a lot with, was create a creature that has layer actions around its layer. The ability to shoot web from a tree that it's hiding in and mess with the party as they're going through.
Or just the layer action being the mass amount of webs, it makes everything hard terrain. So now, every once in a while, maybe a web breaks free and brings some debris down from a wall with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Or there's like pitfall traps that are activated throughout the
and even egg sacs. We could have egg sacs where more of the dissolving children will spawn from during the boss battle.
They're not called dissolving. They're not called dissolving children because they help take the form and then dissolve. They're called the dissolving children because she lays the eggs inside the corpses of those that she hunts, and then they slowly eat the body from inside and then emerge. Like they make the body dissolve.
So much extra creepy.
Yeah, so they have multiple reasons for being called the dissolving children.
I love it. This is so cool. It's gonna suck. I think we should put this in our game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be so good.
It'll be in campaign too. I promise you that.
For real, yeah.
We just built a whole side quest for it too
Absolutely.
right now.
Yes. Let's get it. I really like that. So, what are you thinking for the stats, Mr. Stat Puncher?
Well, so far I've been looking at some swarms of the tiny beasts.
Okay.
And, typically small or low strength, -4 modifier for a total of 3, 13 dex, 10 con, 1 intelligence, 7 wisdom, and 1 charisma, but it has a +5 on charisma, which I'm guessing is just a species trait.
Yeah.
Their resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damages.
Yeah.
They are immune to charmed, being frightened, paralyzed, or going prone, petrified, restrained, or stunned. And they have blind sight for 10 feet and a passive perception of 8.
Dang.
And this one only gives them a challenge rating of half, but I think when I get through with it, it might be upwards of a 2.
Yeah. Beef it up.
Mm-hmm.
I think the children should be just as terrifying as the mom.
And then they have Swarm as a feature, which allows them to occupy another creature's space and move through openings large enough for a spider. The Swarm cannot regain any hit points, though. So once they die, those members die off, so it just stays getting smaller.
Yeah. I like the idea. I think we've done this before where you have a swarm of something and their HP is not per spider. Mm-hmm. The HP is the number of spiders in the group.
Yeah. So that's
as they're doing more and more
is...
damage, you can dictate how small that group is getting by how much HP is left.
That's what I was getting at with the blocks, putting blocks out. So, okay, well, at full health,
so they have 100.
They'll do 6 attacks worth of damage.
Yeah.
But at half health, they'll do 3. And then as they get down to eventually 1, it's one small ball of maybe, 30 spiders.
Yeah.
I think we did that before with griffins, mini griffins.
Yeah,
micro
griffins. Yeah.
And then let's see if I could find something here for
I think there's a giant spider stats, or there's like a giant wolf spider stats you can get on there.
Mm-hmm.
I think those would fit probably pretty good.
What is this one? This one's creepy. I might use this one just because it looks so cool.
That's also what a lot of DMs do is like, wow, this one looks really neat. I'm going to use this. Like, this is what I'm choosing now.
Oh, this is a spider dragon.
Ooh.
Coming in at a challenge level 13, so I might have to lower it a little bit to kind of balance it out, but I think this is what I might use.
Yeah, let's hear
Strength of 18, Dex of 24, a Constitution of 20, Intelligence 14, Wisdom 12, and Charisma 18.
I like the high wisdom.
As a dragon spider, does it have a breath weapon?
Let's get down there. Yeah, spider breath.
Oh, God.
The spider dragon exhales a torrent of spiders.
Oh, geez.
Oh, so all I'm thinking is, well, we can change that. It's spider dragon breath.
What if you make that the layer effect? Is that these corpses that are around there have
that's
spider
what I was
breath?
Going to say, but it's not just spider web. It releases the spiders.
Yeah.
But this is where the dissolving children come from. Is as it releases this breath, it's an acidic spider that comes out, and they grab over and they start to eat away at whatever they're on, whether it's metal or wood or leather or people or players.
Maybe this is how she eats. Is she breathes these, or she births these acidy little dissolving children, and they dissolve the body for her, and she just laps up the goo.
Yeah, just proboscis throws it out there.
Oh, that must have been awful. I'm sorry.
Well, there's one option. I'm going to look for one more giant spider stat to kind of run off of and see what we like.
Get it.
Boop, boop, boop. The spider. Large monstrosity. This one also comes in at a challenge level 15. Holy crub. That is a lot.
Crub, by the way.
Yep, that's a word I just made up. You can use it if you like.
I don't want no crubs. Crub is a guy who can't get no love from me. Hanging out the passenger side of his mom's creepy body, trying to dissolve
Take it or
me.
leave it. I think I'll leave it.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one.
Okay,
that was pretty good. I hate those songs, and I sung almost the whole verse.
You did a real good job there.
Hell yeah, I'm pretty awesome, like fantastic, and everyone loves me.
Okay, here's a better one. This one here comes down to a challenge level 1, so I can beef it up easier for lower level battles.
Yeah.
Spider Climb, Web Sense, and Web Walker. Has a strength of 14, Dex 16, Con 12, Intelligence 2, Wisdom 11, and Charisma 5. So at that one, I'd probably beef up the intelligence as it is the leader of them all.
Well, and then also because of all the mimicking and using the spells the way it does, I think it would require that.
So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this basic giant spider. It's just a large beast, and I'm gonna fuse it a little bit with that spider dragon and give it some more of a layer action, legendary action type of build. Yeah. And I think I want to build this for what I would assume to be maybe a party of 4 level 5 players.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That way you could also use it as a guardian for certain areas. Like if you don't want your group going through this tunnel yet, you put this in the doorway, and they're not fucking getting past it, or they're gonna die trying. And
maybe this will be the one that I use for my magical parchment quest.
Ooh, I like that.
It guards the magical parchment.
I like that. We'll have to dive into your magical parchment. Your magical apartment quest. I like the idea of that too, of it having this be the gatekeeper basically for whatever lies behind this tunnel, and you don't want your group to go there yet. Maybe
I think also the thaumaturgy and the using the shadows and the flame and the flickering lights will go perfectly with the whole quest plot too.
Oh yeah, that sounds dope. I love it. So we have so what do we name it? Oh, the Ghastly Queen and the Dissolving Children.
Yeah, the Ghastly Queen and the Dissolving Chitlins.
And mostly mountainous area, cave structures. They don't like direct light. They mostly hunt at night, so mostly nocturnal. Although I don't think they're opposed to fighting in the day. I actually imagine the children wouldn't have that same sensitivity to light. So if she did have to hunt in the day, they would just coat her.
Yeah,
like they do when they try and take whatever form. That way she can move on. Yeah. Full on, what is it? Voltron. Yeah, full on Voltron, where they cover her in their tiny little peach fuzz body.
Like a Venom, almost.
Oh, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, then, just like that.
Yeah. And then, so that way she can move from area to area in the daylight, or if she's threatened in her cave, they can leave. And then,
well, I also imagine they don't just ride on top of her and like stick to her. I imagine as they do, they're constantly spinning silk and making almost like a clothed like shell for her,
veil or something.
Yeah, a veil that goes over. Then they cling onto the veil and they just constantly weave. And then whenever she goes back in at night, she'll just brush it off like an exoskeleton.
Yeah, creepy. I love it. She sheds this like even more translucent form of herself because she's semi-opaque. Where like I imagine it being like a grayish kind of chitin armor, but you can kind of still see through it.
See, I was thinking almost like a Tool kind of like flowy, almost elegant type of structure that actually like passes through the woods almost without touching the ground, almost looking like she levitates because she's so graceful that it looks like there's just a flowing long like ghost like skittering through the woods.
Oh, creepy. So I think maybe you could probably have the locals or your NPCs call it like the Ghost Beast or the Ghost Spider, or
again the ghost form will just be known as the Ghastly Queen.
Yeah, the Ghastly Queen. I love it. It's so creepy. It's gonna be hard to draw.
All right, so
we put a lot of texture in there, so that's gonna be a little fun to draw.
I think it's a good spot to leave it though.
Yeah, it sounds dope. I think we fleshed it out. Yeah. All right, so who was next? I rolled a 16. I guess
that'd be my 10.
That's you.
All right. I have a forum question for you, boys. This is from D&D Beyond Forum from Kasumi Rylith.
Okay.
Kasumi Rylith asks, I am just wondering what role alignments play in D&D lately. I have ran an evil character and a good character. They both felt that the alignment was just tacked on, especially with background questions, personality, ideals, bonds, and flaws. I understand the history of alignments. I ran a sword sage in 3.5 and was stripped of good alignment and given a neutral one until she atoned. However, in 5e, at least to me, it seems tacked on. What's everyone's opinion? Is it needed anymore?
Well, so for me, from what I'm hearing, is it sounds like it's really up to your DM and how your DM is using it and how close they want to stick to the rules when it comes to alignment.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you play an evil character, you're looking at someone who's more self-centered, focused on their own goals, a lot of times greedily, more prone to murder or theft, things like that would cause harm to other people for your own gain. That doesn't always mean you're right out evil villain, let's take over the world or nothing.
Yeah.
But it's how do you go through the game? I know in our game I've come up with karma points that I don't tell the players about, and behind the scenes. And so behind the scenes, I keep track of...
Okay? Through the fucking roof, Bruce.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I use karma points without the players knowing, and if they're good characters and they do good stuff, they get good karma. And what this leads to in the game is I'll bestow them a little gift. Maybe they wake up and they find, a fresh meal cooked for them, and they have no idea how it got there, and they might be a little sketched out, but if they eat it, they'll get a little boost for the day.
Yeah. Or I like what we've done before is where if someone's following their path and sticking to kind of like their alignment and their journey that they've chosen with their class and whatever, we will slowly give them boons. Like they'll have dreams of, how, because we flesh out the idea of why they took that class. So if you multi-class in our game, you have to find a way in game to justify doing that. And so, like one of our guys, Mako, he is a barbarian, half orc, half hogkin, and now he's taking the multi-class of druid. And so we just gave him a boon not too long ago I don't even think we actually fully gave it to him. We started to, and then we ended the game. But what it is because he's been following his druidic path and rather than his barbarian path, which are kind of opposed if you think about it. Barbarian is destroy, kill, smash, get what I want. And druid is very, I don't need to kill this animal just because it's there. I want to, leave my mark in different ways of not, destroying the things around me just to destroy the things around me. So if you think about those, they're diametrically opposed. And so with that state of mind, he's slowly moving away from the barbarian side unless it comes to combat or someone harming him or his air quotes family. And because he's following that really well, we're giving him slow benefits of, well, you're sticking to your plan. You didn't just chop down that tree for no reason. And that pleases your druidic side. So we're going to give you this little boon, and because he's sticking to his alignment, that we're kind of, giving him a little bit of extra space to do those things. And those are always fun to kind of keep track of. If it feels tacked on, it's because the DMs that are DMing now don't really know how to play it
I would say if it feels tacked on, I don't think it's because of the DM. I feel like the alignment is flavor for yourself. If it feels tacked on, you're not utilizing it.
Yeah.
When building a character, like I said, it's role playing, right? So no, your alignment doesn't really affect your stats so much, but the alignment tells you how you RP that character.
Yeah.
When you walk into a situation, what am I doing? Well, it's not what you want to do as a player. What would your character do? And when you really start to think about that, that's where the thought of your alignment comes into play. Well, I'm a lawful good character. So how would a lawful good character act in this situation?
How would they feel about someone doing this? Or how would they react to this situation with this kind of person in front of them?
So I think alignment is one of the biggest things to really get into when you're trying to RP your character.
Yeah.
So like I said, I don't think it's so much on the DM not putting it forth, but I think it's yourself. You really have to dive into that, and that's a huge factor of what you are going to use to make decisions as you play your character in role-playing situations.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, but I think where they're coming from is that in previous versions, the alignment was something major. It was what dictated a lot of what you do in role-playing and in gameplay. And now with 5e, it's so evenly divided between the two that if you have a DM that's going to focus on one part over the other, it can become really unbalanced towards that other side. And then you don't have to worry about the alignment or the motivations or the backgrounds and all that stuff. That's where I was saying it sounds like the DM is not playing into it, because if the DM is playing into it, then all the decisions you make are weighed on that scale of what's my alignment? How am I going through this, or what am I doing? And then that's when the DM would either benefit or dock you, basically, for playing to that alignment or, straying from.
Well, not just that, too. It also plays into, the use of certain spells that allow someone to sense good or evil.
That's what I was going to say. With certain classes, it's going to affect your spells. Like when we just played that last game, Nick, and you had that basically evil alignment paladin, it was totally different spells you were casting than a good alignment paladin would.
Yeah, a lot of my spells were doing, instead of radiant damage, they were doing necrotic damage. So that was one aspect. But it also took place with my decisions too. I played a character that, like, well, what's his motivation? What's he working towards?
Yeah.
He had a fake persona that he showed the people, so that's what he kept up. But he had ulterior motives for everything he did.
Yeah.
He was always pursuing his own gain, his own goals. And during that game, because he was evil, I made sure to play it as a way that he was going to be self-centered, and he would make it look like he's helping the town, but he's getting something for himself out of it.
Nice. I like that. I mean, to really feel like alignment isn't gone. I don't think alignments are gone. I think it's just underplayed more than other versions.
So what I think the problem with his situation is that when you build a character on D&D Beyond and you're going through and you're selecting your alignment, that gives you what your traits are going to be for your personality, and you go through and you just kind of click 1 through 6 on them.
Yeah.
And you decide, okay, I click that one, I click that one, I click that one, but then you don't refer back to it. So those are ways for it to help you create the background and the personality for your character, whereas before, when you would write it all out and you got to the background part, you had to think and write it and acknowledge the way your character was going to act.
Yeah.
So because it's there and you just click it, it's not something people go into really when they're describing their characters across the table. I don't think, and it's overlooked a lot of times because you just want your stats, so you're ready for combat, get your items, and then you throw it out and jump to the character sheet, and you're not paying attention to your personality traits, your flaws, or all those little things like that make your character an actual character and not just a avatar for your personality.
Not just a stat block. It's an actual character you're role playing.
So one thing we used to do in the very beginning of when we started playing, which I think we should probably get back to, it was really helpful in the beginning, but something that you guys can take away from this is before each game, we would take like 5 or 10 minutes and just go over our stat sheets, make sure we knew what we had in our inventory, make sure we knew like what our motivations were, knew like what our backstory was and how that affected our characters, and then like what proficiencies they had. We would have our players sit down for a couple minutes and just scroll through their character, and then that's when they would come into their alignment. That's when they come into their backstory. And it would kind of remind them of all the little subtle things that they do or wanted to do in the beginning when they first created the character. And that's something that you guys can take and go and start trying to do, is like every game has a couple minutes right before they start playing where you can sit there while the DM is sitting up their screen or getting the rest of what they need going. Instead of idly chit-chatting, you guys can just scroll through your character sheet and refresh yourself on it and remind yourself of why you're playing this character or what you want this character to play as.
All right, boys.
Pretty good answer.
Nailed it in one.
Well, so just to wrap it up, put a nice little bow on it. I feel like it's going to be a bit both you as the player and your DM. If your DM doesn't really care about paying attention to the alignments, then you're not going to get nothing out of it. It's going to feel watered down. But you as a player are able to decide, I want to really play into this. I want to bring it up. I want to make the other players aware that I'm role playing it this way. And you yourself can almost enforce it on the sidelines by just emphasizing that, well, my character's good, so it's going to do this. When you're talking over the table, discussing what you're going to do to the DM or to the other people, acknowledge that you're role playing your alignment so the other players have it fresh in their head and they can acknowledge it as well. And that'll open up the dialogue, at least at the table, for you guys to start implementing more alignment-based situations.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, Nick, did you have something you want to go into?
Yeah, we got a really awesome email.
Oh, it was
Do any of you guys have that pulled up already?
Oh, does Trevor have it pulled up? Is that what he said?
Does the conductor have it going?
I can grab it real quick. Stand by. All right, I got it. It is from Joseph P. He says, "Well met, boyos. Just finished binging all of your episodes and enjoyed every second. In fact, I was suspicious that you might have secretly chanted some sort of spell, as I felt compelled to slide into your DMs. I tried to do so on your Twitter account, but it seems that your DMs are closed. I fixed that. Don't worry. I fixed it. It's open now.
It's open now. Thank you, Bruce.
And then he jokingly said, "Should I roll sleight of hand check?" Which I loved. But
if you did, you rolled a great sleight of hand that forced Bruce to actually open that up.
Yeah, I had to go figure out what I did wrong, and I was a bad
You see,
person.
because we had him closed, we wanted to give you disadvantage on doing it, but you were just so lucky. You rolled 2 natural 20s, Joseph, that you forced the DM god to go ahead and open those doors for you. Slide into those DMs.
Nailed it. So he says, "Goofs aside, here's my question. Only one of my friends is into RPGs, role-playing games. So I've started as a newbie DM with a party of 1. I have found an RPG that adapts the D&D setting to the mechanics of having just 1 player." And then he gave us the title of this, which is super helpful. The game is Secret Heroes by Kevin Crawford. And have designed a campaign setting. However, I struggle to plan in advance as one character is much more likely to go off the rails or miss the plot hooks that I prepare. What advice do you have for a first-time DM with a single player?" And then he also puts in a little note here, and he says, "I'll be happy with any sort of advice for one-on-one DMing, even if it's not related to my specific problem." And he says, "Thanks in advance, Joe P." Thank you, Joe, so much. That email
made
our day.
Thank you.
Made our day when we read that.
Yes.
So jumping into the advice, right off the top of my head, the easiest thing I can give you is the false choice scenario.
Yeah.
It's where you have hallway A or hallway B. which direction does the party choose?
Choose wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sit there and bicker for a minute. Like, no, hallway A, because it smells like vanilla. And
but little do they know, no matter which one they choose, they get the same outcome.
Yep. Absolutely.
You give them the false idea of choice. So in a one-on-one RPG where you are the DM and you have one player, because I've done this before too and it works out really well, is, you kind of just have time points where you drop in the next part to the quest. They talk to a person. Maybe they want to murder hobo and kill him. Well, that's fine. Because they couldn't tell them the quest, they find a piece of paper on them or parchment that then tells them the quest. Or they're supposed to go find somebody, and then they kill that person, or they steal from that person, or they completely miss it and find another person. That's okay. That new person is now that person's sibling.
Yeah.
They have to go now track down that person as a side quest, or as the quest hook. So it's not about staying on the rails and keeping them going. It's let them do whatever they want. And
drop the breadcrumbs in front of them,
mm-hmm.
and they'll find them.
Yeah. Yes. So no matter what they do, you just know, okay, I have to get them to learn this aspect. So how do they learn it? Oh, they commit a crime and now they're arrested. What are you going to do then? Well, now the prisoner in the cell with them has the information for them.
Yeah.
It's really like we've talked about building a story before, and kind of the best way to do it is to build basically what's like a skeleton,
mm-hmm.
right? You're not actually railroading specifically to this. You have your major points of I want them to go eventually get to here. I want them here, and you have a basic just main points of a storyline. Let them fill in the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the main thing about when you're doing a one-on-one DM is having that just basic skeleton and really being able to adapt on the fly. And just like I said, you have that main point of they need to start this quest to go find this X item or B or, go here or there. But it doesn't specifically matter where that happens, how it happens. It's just the point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you drop that in anywhere you want. And if you want to drop it in with, this character in this bar, but they blow right by it, that's fine. Okay, let me put it to this, just hold it for a minute and
just
wait till they actually go talk to someone, a person, and then, okay, this is the person that's actually going to give them the quest rather than that guy in the bar. It's just being able to adapt on the fly is going to be your biggest advantage of running a one-on-one DM game.
I think what Trevor is trying to say is like, another way we've done this is you create the skeleton of your game. Don't write out a full arc. Don't write out a full novel of what you want to happen, because it's not going to happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
Write out the skeleton, the bullet points, and then just make those like locational unlocks. So they get to this location, then this information unlocks. Well, if they skip that location entirely, well, then that location's moved. Now it's this location.
Yeah.
And I think that's basically what Trevor was saying is like, don't anchor your plot points. Don't nail them down to anything, because you never know what your player is going to do. And I was always thinking like, well, you have a one-on-one player. I almost like this better, because you can actually explain and detail more of the scenes and situations than you would with a big group, because then you're going to have 90,000 questions rather than with a one-on-one player where you just have the 10 questions. Like they go into a town hall meeting. They're there for a job, but they see that everyone in the town is kind of missing. And someone in the bar who's like a drunkard is like, yeah, there's a town meeting, whatever. So they go over there, and then you can detail and describe the people that should be plot points to them. And then they can go and address those people if they want. Or because you've already described them, they kind of know of them. And you can have like the baker be like, oh, well, don't go over here and talk to old John. John is a farmer who owns like this haunted thing and whatever. No one likes him, and he's a douchebag, and he never pays for his bread, whatever. But really what they were supposed to do in the first place was see John at the meeting, follow him to his haunted, farm or whatever it is. But now you've given yourself that freedom of just dropping that information wherever, but you describe the scene in a way where they should get it. They should get the hint, and if they don't, then you can improvise and figure out how to get it.
Or even expand on that. Say they decide to blow past the town, like, oh, they're busy in this town, they're having a town meeting, I don't want to get caught up in the politics. Well, they leave town and continue going. Well, you know what, now they stumbled on to John's farm as John's running out being chased by some, ghostly critter, or, a haunt coming out and chasing him out of his barn, or... he's fighting off a zombie cow or something.
Yeah, exactly. So another thing that I think is really helpful for this kind of skeleton model is just build a bunch of different NPCs and have their NPC cards written out.
Yeah.
And then that way you don't have to worry about creating an NPC on the fly.
Literally,
you already
just
have the
an
card.
index card.
You can just pin that index card and be like, look, now the baker is this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the information he has. Or you have information cards and NPC cards just quickly scribbled out on an index card.
Yeah.
And then you can just put those two together, and so you can keep track of who he met and had what information. And then that way you're not losing the plot yourself because he's kind of going free balling on it, you know?
Yeah. Also, I would say make sure you get yourself a copy of their character sheet while playing.
Yeah.
Know their stats and have them in front of you. So say they decide to just say, screw the quest and I'm going to run free in this sandbox world. Well, you create creatures and beasts and monsters outside of the quest line. So, like he decides, I'm going to run past this farm and not deal with that. And no, there's a ghost. I'm scared. I'm going to keep running. And next thing you know, he's in the mountains, right? Well, your buddy's in the mountains exploring those. And then he comes into a cave. Well, now a giant, ice troll comes out and then he whacks him one big swoop with a club.
And he's a wizard, so he dies instantly.
Well, and he flies out and you fake roll dice and he does almost enough damage to kill him, leaving only 1 HP left.
Mm-hmm.
That will scare them and be like, I can't fight this thing, and they're going to have to run away. And the thing is, you didn't actually roll dice to do that. There was no chance. It was you as the DM controlling the outcome to say, hey, there's a big red skull above that monster. You can't fight it yet.
Yeah, he's got the oh shit warning above him, and you can see the 3 exclamation points, so get the hell out.
I just want to scroll back here a little bit. I know what we're talking about when we say these index cards, but do you want to explain, Nick, a little bit of what you write on the index cards as far as, like, I know you put the player motivation on there. Mm-hmm. You want to explain just all the little details you usually put on those index cards?
Yeah. So what you would do with the index cards, you write, a little NPC name down, their race, what their job is for the city or their town or whatever they're at, like what their purpose is there. And you write out what do they like about stuff, what do they dislike, so that way if the party does something that they don't like, now it's harder to get, persuasion checks out. Or if they do something they like, they can give advantage or lower the DC. But you also put down their motivation. What are they looking to gain from the players? What are they looking to achieve by talking to the player? Mm-hmm. And then that way, when you have conversations, you have a motivation to follow as that NPC.
Yeah. How would he speak to them? Like, what would motivate him to help them, basically?
Well, or what would motivate them to seek help? Or what would motivate them, are they questing themselves to go get something done? Maybe they have a sick relative and they need medicine. So their primary directive is, I got to get some coin to go buy this medicine, and I got to save my sick relative. So that's their whole motivation. And anything outside of that, they're not going to cooperate with. But then you decide to help them and get them through that thing. Well, now they're going to be more willing to help you with whatever you need them to help you with. And so that's one of the things you put down. And then also a small list of items. I recommend, a little bit of money and stuff in case you got murder hobos who like to loot dead bodies and just kill NPCs. Yep. You prepare for that by putting a little bit of loot on them, if any. Yeah. And you put down what information they can possibly give the party. What would they know or not know to allow the party to get anything useful out of them? Are they an NPC that can be played by you and go on a quest with them and help guide them? Mm-hmm. Or are they just an information dump? And those are the type of things you write down. And you can really literally, no matter where they are, just throw that NPC down and give them a job. Yeah. And they got the information dump right there.
Yeah.
To
so
continue the quest.
What goes into a card is the name of the NPC, their race, class, and job. Then you put their motive, or no, you put their stats. Then you put their motive.
Well, then the thing is, they don't always need stats. You can skip stats on a lot of them.
But those that do would be, name, race, class, job.
I'd say even to keep it flexible, and like we were saying, where you can just drop it in almost any different NPC. You almost can skip the race, job, class. Yeah. Mostly what you're going to want on the index card is specific details about the quest that they have. You're going to want the motivation of that character and why he wants that quest done and what he's willing to give up for it. And
a
small item list.
Yeah. And factions, if they belong to a faction or a family, if it's a quest line, maybe basically it's warring families.
Important information. Mm-hmm. Anything that would stick out rather than your basic vanilla NPC. Just the extras. You like Trevor had said, you don't need to put a race and a class to them. You can almost just leave the name, the info they have, and their motive. and then just fill in all that other stuff as you go.
As you go, especially, like if you give them an accent or an impression.
Yeah, make that note on there.
You make that note after you do it, so you don't have to, that way you can remember to go back to it, but then you don't have to prepare for them. You're like, oh, I'm going to drop out a really crappy British accent right now.
Yeah.
And you throw that out there and you write crappy British accent.
Yeah. But then that way you can also, if your party doesn't interact with them at all, then you just use that same little husk of an NPC and just move it to the next thing. But yeah, stuff like that really helps with keeping a game for a one-on-one going. Just having those little tools and those little tricks in your tool belt are really, really helpful. Also,
don't create too much of like hard written storyline that you got to follow or maps that you got to follow. If you're using a pre-made quest, you're going to want to use the maps that go with it. But if you're doing it on the fly, I would highly recommend keeping all of it into the theater of the mind.
All right. Well, I hope that answered your question, Joe. Joe, right?
Yeah.
Joseph P.
Joseph P.
Joseph.
Okay.
P.
I doubted myself for a second. I'm sorry. But good news, I did get it right. So, Joe, thank you again. Thank you so much. That was a great question.
Again, man, you made our day. When we read that
little
email,
goose
it
you
made
threw in
our
there.
day.
It was definitely entertaining.
Really hope to hear from you again with more questions.
Yes. Any other questions you have, especially once you start DMing for this player, hit us up and let us know. Slide into those DMs.
And please let us know how it goes.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. See if any of those little tips helped you. You can just send us back a thanks. I took this and this or whatever. But I did shoot him off an email pretty quick, guys. Just to let you know, because we got that email a little while ago. But I sent him an email off maybe like 3 days later, and tried to give him the basics of what I know we would answer with, and help him out a little bit between here and there. So
just so he doesn't have to wait. For
just so he wasn't sitting out there with
all the advice,
his hands in his butt pockets, trying to figure out what to do.
For sure.
But yeah, thank you again, Joe P.
So
got anything else for us, Trev?
Just like Joe P. Anyone else that has a good a question that you are pondering on for yourself for D&D, slide into our DMs, Facebook, Twitter, which is now open thanks to Joe P, Instagram, email, all of those. So hit us up. You boys want another forum question?
Yeah. Do you have like an easy one or a quick one? Or you think
I have something I want to just kind of say to the listeners real quick. Open up the lines here for you guys to where, if you guys have any awesome or creative character builds and you want to build like backstories around it, I think it'd be fun to where we read out your characters, out your character ideas, and try to come up with a way to, make them into an NPC or break down how we might play them.
Oh, yeah.
That we can jump into the actual play style a little bit more, like go over that character's alignment and how they would act on that alignment in different situations, and how to use some of their skills and abilities, racial abilities and skills to their advantage. Things like that. I think that'd be pretty fun.
That'd be kind of cool, yeah.
All right,
let's get that question, Trev.
I do have another question from the D&D Beyond forum. This is from IDK Ware. That is his name, IDKWHR. It's a lengthy question, but I think we can answer it pretty quick, and it's also very topical.
Okay.
So it says, so recently during COVID,
nice,
hence the topical, me, my brother, and my friend, dang it, I was hoping it was be my brother, and me.
Oh,
I know, so close.
Dang, so close.
Me, my brother, and my friend and their brother, so very close. We've been playing D&D every day for around 2 hours currently. I just finished the second session, and I'm incredibly frustrated about the DMing. Okay. So to start, we resumed at the bar where I ordered water for myself and a beer for a party member. I tried starting a bar fight, which failed. The bartender made everyone leave the bar because he didn't want anything getting destroyed. I end up getting slammed to the ground by a Goliath, and the bartender demands I pay for the drinks. I was annoyed because the DM didn't say anything about a price or paying, so I didn't think about paying. He said he had a small comment about how it was obvious, but I ignored it. And then go into an inn where I look out the window and find a shady stall. I head over there to sell some stolen jewelry and look around. Apparently the stall is some complex, although I've never got an explanation for all this. I find a katana that's 400 GP. I want to steal it because I have only a little money. Apparently there's like 6 guards and 3 unidentifieds that get me really ticked off whenever I play them as a DM. Any unplanned fight is impossible for me to beat. They lead me
to a training room where there are some people so I can test the sword on. After I fight them and try switching katanas, but apparently it's... Sorry, had to switch here. Unidentified Japanese runes with a purple handle. I'm incredibly frustrated because after that, they even admit it's impossible because they've designed it to be impossible to steal. I leave the store and head back to the inn. I ask the other 2 party members if they want to steal the katana with me. My plan was distraction in the combat chamber while I steal the katana. One agreed to go, the other didn't. We go back at, whoops, there's a ton of guards at the dealer. And they say something like, let me guess, you asked your friend if they wanted to pull a heist, but they called the guards instead. I couldn't hear him very well because they were in a voice chat because of the echo and the DM being in the same room. I'm pretty sure he didn't call guards. Even if he did, couldn't say where it was because we never told him. It's just a convenient way so I couldn't steal the powerful item. So I said, let's end it early on a cliffhanger. The DM agreed and we ended the session. I'm incredibly frustrated about this. That happens every single session they DM. They texted me after the session and asked how it was. I don't want to lie and say good. I've really only played an actual good campaign once. I want to talk to them, but I don't want to hurt their feelings. How do I talk to them about it?
Oh my god. Wow, that was so lengthy.
Yeah.
Let me catch my breath.
You need to become a DM, stop playing, and make up your own rules if you don't like the way your DM plays.
It sounds like this guy is your classic murder hobo / sneaky thief who's doing this in every single chance he can.
It goes back to our classic group where, oh, does this town have an armory?
Yeah.
I robbed the armory.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're going to play the game where all you do is run around and steal stuff and just have your way and, you know, oh, I see that, I want to be able to steal it, but the DM doesn't want to let you steal it, then you kind of just got to go with the flow and say, well, I'm not going to steal that. I need to earn 400 GP and buy it. Yeah. And, you know, that also brings my question of, was it 400 GP for sale and that's why you wanted to steal it? Or did you go and look up prices in the handbook and decide it was, are you metaing or are you, you know, was it information given in game? And, you know, if the DM, you know, blocks you at every way saying you're not going to steal this, I'm not going to let you, you can't really get mad about that because the thing is they have a purpose for it. It's either you buy it and you get it or you find a more clever way to steal it that outwits the DM. Yeah. But what it comes down to it is maybe they don't want you to steal it because it's what's going to drive you to quest. It's what's going to drive you to make money so you can go back and get that 400 gold katana.
Maybe he wanted you to ask the shopkeep, hey, is there anything I can do to drop that price on there? Like, is there anything you need that I can go get for you and bring back to help discount that?
A favor for an item maybe. Like, can I go on a quest and then you give it to me as a reward? There's other ways around it. And if your DM doesn't like the way your play style is and doesn't fit their campaign, you know, talk to them about it. Say, hey, I want to go over the way I'm hoping to play and the way you're DMing. And, you know, you can bring it up in a good way.
If he's asking you how it was, he wants you to be honest. Yeah. Like, he's not just trying to get you to compliment him. Like, I know that when I ask people, when I ask you, how was that game? I want you to be honest with me. I want you to be like, well, I felt like the combat took a little long or this, that, and the other. That way I can go in and fix that. So that way you're having a better time because if you don't tell me, and then I don't know. I can't read your mind. So
well, it's just like the one time, you know, like when you gave us a full like 2 hours of combat with the lobsters after the game. We're like, yeah, we liked it, but you kept giving us too many things to fight. Like we didn't progress the story that time because we had to fight the whole time. Yeah, and you know, it wasn't a bad thing, but it was an opportunity for us to talk to Bruce and his DMing, say, hey, we want more story. Let's not fight for 2 hours straight. Yeah, and ever since then, we haven't had no crazy long fights.
Yeah, and it's he is giving you the opportunity to give him constructive criticism. Yeah. So, and I say that exactly how I said it. Give him constructive criticism. Yeah. Don't tear him down. Don't bash him. Yeah. Don't be a dick. Don't be, well, I hated it because you were such a dick to me. You wouldn't let me steal this. Don't complain to him, but just give him constructive criticism. Hey, man, I appreciate a more open world where there is possibilities for me to do these things instead of I felt like I was being railroaded a little bit. If you know, maybe open it up where I understand some things are going to be hard to do, but nothing should be impossible if you let me find a way to do it. Whereas you were telling me that it's impossible, don't even try. Maybe, you know, like have him adapt the the phrase we always use in our games.
You can
certainly try.
Yeah.
You can certainly try. Doesn't mean it's going to work.
Yeah.
But
Also,
you can give it a shot.
And then
if the player comes up with a freaking ingenious way of doing it, then you give it to him.
I absolutely reward those kinds of things. It's like, you can certainly try, but I'm going to up the DC for this.
Yeah.
Like, in
and
my
there's
own
punishment
head.
if you fail.
Yeah, exactly. Like, maybe the runes on the blade are a curse for those who aren't properly attuned to it or don't come by it by the right means. Like, maybe the blade has its own, to call back on another question, maybe it has its own alignment. And by you stealing it, it doesn't match with its alignment, so it doesn't attune right. So you just stole a sword that's going to be just as good as your regular sword.
Yeah, or then on top of that, too, is, you could talk to your DM about, their play style. Tell them, like, hey, it's not really fun that you railroad it and say there's no way for me to steal it.
Yeah.
I would rather you let me try to steal it, fail, and then arrest me and put me in prison. And then that way it deters the quest a little bit, but it allows, it gives you, the player, the ability, to have repercussions for bad ideas in games.
Yeah.
I think the DM should let you try, let you fail, and then punish you for it after you fail. Yeah. Even if it is impossible to actually steal, like even if you rolled a 29 stealth and got past all the guards, and then you rolled a 32 sleight of hand and you swiped it and replaced it with a fake one, and then you get out. Well, maybe there's the DM could say, well, it wasn't meant to be stolen, so there's an enchantment that when it leaves, it teleports back, and because there's something in its place, it makes it cling. They notice it's stolen, and then they notice you trying to get away.
Yeah.
And now you have a chase scene on your hands. But at least that way you got to try. You didn't feel like you were being hindered, and now you failed, and now you're stuck dealing with the consequences. But at least they let you try it.
Yeah. I think the DM throwing the extra guards in there, that was a little cheap. I think the DM telling you outright, like, look, you're not supposed to be able to steal this, like that stuff is a little cheap. That's a little lazy on the DM side. I was just literally thinking, what if we made like a magical anti-theft device for items in a shop, where it's like, for a blade it's clamped around the hilt,
or in this case it's just real simple, they have silver thread wrapped around the hilt, attach it to it, so when it moves the alarm goes off. So once they put it back, they do their little enchantment, and it's locked again. And like, you can certainly try to steal it, but they're gonna know. Yeah.
And on
but
that
like,
note,
give them, deter them.
God damn it, one of us, Bruce.
Sorry, I stopped.
On that note, like I said, Bruce was saying it was a little bit of lazy DMing. I'd also say it's a little bit of lazy playing on your side.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
First off, you said you saw this shady little spot where you wanted to set up and sell stuff. But then when you got over there, you found out it wasn't just a little shady little spot, but it was a shop. So does that mean you didn't roll a perception? Because if you would have rolled, say, hey, I want to roll a perception on this shady spot over here, see what it is, then you probably would have found out before you ever even walked over there what was going on over there.
Yeah.
But you didn't say you did that. He described a shady little spot over there, and, oh, cool, I'm going to go over there and sell stuff.
Yeah.
You didn't go anything beyond that.
And you should also be thankful that your DM gave you such an easy fence for stolen goods. I mean, if I was DMing and you stole some, jewelry like that, and you took it to just any random shop that wasn't like underground Thieves Guild type of fencing market, I would have you caught up. I'd have the guards see what you were selling, said, hey, that went missing earlier today. Yeah. Or, hey, that went missing a week ago. That we recognize that belongs to so-and-so.
Yeah.
And then you'd be caught up there. So, I mean, although your DM was lazy in one aspect, be thankful they were lazy in the other aspect to let you get your way when you wanted it in that case.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, also a little lazy on your part of the fact that he told you it was going to be impossible, and then you let that stop you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Impossible. Even if he says it's impossible.
Yeah.
You can certainly try.
Yeah,
even if he says it's impossible.
That's literally why we say that, is because, look, we're still going to apply a DC to this, because you have brought it into existence by thinking, well, hey, I think I want to try and steal that. Well, now we just created a DC in our head for that. But depending on the outcome the DM wants, they can up or down that DC a little bit and then create the effects and all that stuff later. And I think that the DM should have kept however many guards were already there, let you go in, let you test the sword, and then, let you try your distraction thing, but then, kept in mind that there's little DM tricks that you can use. Like, maybe the player didn't see that there was a familiar up in the corner of the store just keeping watch, and now that you grabbed it, it starts screeching and hooting and hollering and flying all around, and now you're basically your goose is cooked. You're noticed. Now it's like a chase scene, a combat scenario, initiative rolls. It's
layer actions.
There's
doors
things
locking.
You can do. Like there's things you can. I can't remember which one of you boyos said it, but like give them a reason to not want to steal it. Like I think it was Nick who said, put them in jail. Give them a reason why they shouldn't have taken it. Like let them play it through and let them be deterred from doing it, and then still let them try.
Yeah.
So I
understand this situation was a little bit of a double fault. Really.
Yeah. It was lacking on both ends, but I think tips that we can give to the DM is up the DC, let them try, come up, be just as creative as they are. If they're going to be creative with the problem solving, you create a more creative problem.
And if you don't like your DM, become the DM.
Yeah.
If you don't like the way your DM plays, you think there's a better way to do it, show them.
Yeah.
Become the DM. Say, hey guys, I want to run a one shot or a small game on the side of this one. Let me DM it, and you guys be my players for 3 games.
But give him a chance. Like I said, he asked you for your opinion, so give him that constructive criticism. Tell him what you thought could have made it better without being a total jerk as you say it.
Yeah. And then also notes to the player is like, do your homework. Like check, like do your perception checks, do your investigation checks, like scope the place out, like take a night or two and just like do a stakeout on the place. Like try and figure out a way for you to do this that makes sense for your character. Like what would your character do in this situation and how would they get past this problem? And then play that. And if your player would see those guards and be deterred and whatever, then just let your character be deterred and walk away.
You can go crazy with role-playing. You say, okay, well, you know what? Since I can't steal that, I'm going to find a brothel in this town.
Yeah.
And then you spend every night for 3 weeks with the same miss from the brothel, and you get her to become enamored with you, and then you roll lots of charisma checks, lots of persuasion checks every single night to try to convince her to help you with this plan. And you get the NPC to help you steal this thing somehow, or get them to do it.
DM, they'll play along with you.
And the thing is, like with role playing as a player, you can take control of the story really easily by just staying in town and saying, "I do this again. I do this again. I do this again." Yeah. And eventually, your DM will be like, "Okay, how long are you going to do this? Yeah. What are your goals? Let's make these rolls. This is what happens." Yeah. And then the story will continue. But you are able to take over short term like that from the DM if you really want something to be done. So as a player, step up, really get hard into the role playing, really get hard into storytelling, and just show your DM that there's a better way to go about it. And then, if that doesn't work, again, just direct communication. Say, hey, I'm really looking for this in the game. I feel like you're doing this, in a way that's not really fair to the players. Yeah. What can we do to resolve this? And then work out the differences in a common dialogue with all the players of the group. Find out what everyone expects out of the game and how the DM wants to play the game, and understand altogether what type of role-playing game you're playing. Because with D&D, there's thousands of ways to play it. It's not just go out and battle monsters, not just crawl through dungeons. There's so much there to do that you guys all got to be on the same page for everyone to have fun.
Yeah. Or you can take a lesson from Django Unchained, where he says, well, if you want this farmer's horse, you don't go to his door and say, hey, how much for the horse? You go up to his door and you say, how much for the farm? And then you talk to him for that long about how much you would pay for the farm, and you have him negotiate, and then at the last minute, you fall out. Like, oh, no, I don't really know. And like, if anything, man, if I had to take anything, I guess I could take your sword. I guess I could take the sword.
Yeah.
It's kind of crappy compared to the rest of the stuff. Like, what I was thinking is you go in and you look for the most expensive thing on that wall and you say, oh, that crazy suit of armor that catches fire when you say the word or whatever. Can I try that out since you have a test room? Can I try that out? Can I try this sword out? Can I try this flail out? And you just try a bunch of things, but you don't buy anything.
Can I try the flaming, raging,
poisoning sword of doom? Yes. And then, when after you've tried and done everything so many times, then that's when you try and sneak in and steal that sword. After you have him putting away so much stuff, or you say that you get angry at the guy because he won't let you do something in the training room, so you angrily take off all the stuff and slam it on the counter, but what you don't know is that you sleight of handed the blade away.
Yeah,
and now you have the sword with you, but it looks like it's in the big pile, and then you just storm out of there like, F this or whatever. Yeah. But like, think of a creative way to take what you want and try to role play it out. Whether he says off the bat if it's going to work or not, you don't know that until you make rolls. Like, so go ahead and give it a try. Like, don't be petty about it. Like, you can certainly try. That's why we always say it. You can certainly try. But
Okay, one last question, boys.
I think so.
Yeah, I think we do one more.
Okay, one last question. Would undress be an appropriate use of the spell command? Wondering how much it could incapacitate some adversaries, either in a fight or socially. It's definitely a cheap shot to take at someone.
I love it.
It's a one-word command, so it does fit the spell.
But there's certain commands you can do, though. They specify. I mean, it depends on your DM if you're going to let you
I would
homebrew
allow it.
Yeah.
I would allow it.
Yeah. Because I've definitely reframed some of those words and those commands.
That wouldn't mean unarmor yourself. Like, I wouldn't tell a guard undress and then he takes off all his armor. He would just disrobe his clothing and still have his AC and his stats stay the same. But he would that would be his action, would be disrobing.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? So he wouldn't be able to attack, and he would be, attack. So he'd be like groveling. You crawl to the ground and you grovel, and then melee attacks are advantage against you.
Yeah.
So I'd apply that same type of grovel, but instead of groveling, they're undressing.
Disrobe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think
it's a one-word command, so I think it fits. It doesn't It doesn't make them cause direct harm upon themselves, which is another stipulation. What's another stipulation that's
one of the stipulations is it has to take an action to do.
Yes.
It has to take the 6 seconds to do it.
Yeah.
So I would say undressing someone in full armor.
Seconds?
Yeah, I think someone disrobing in full armor.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't affect their armor. It would just be like taking off their knickers and their blouse or whatever. Taking off their little top, their tunic, and then dropping their drawers, and they're kicking their boots off. But they still have that, scale mail plate on, or they have that chain link on underneath.
Now they're just Winnie the Poohing it, but they still have full breastplate and armor on top. Yeah.
And they're embarrassed as fuck.
Yeah. I think it would depend on how much you can justify them doing in 6 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's using an item.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah. But it doesn't take you 6 seconds to put on a full thing of armor. I think it takes you more than 6 seconds to do that.
We're not looking.
It takes like 20 minutes and 2 different people to help you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't actually affect their armor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So their armor stays on. They're just taking their jacket off. They're taking their pants off. Mm-hmm. But all their armor is staying on. Like, I imagine, like, if they were wearing breastplate and, like, they weren't wearing a shirt, they just had, like, a couple other straps and, like, a loincloth. Well, they drop the loincloth and the leather straps.
Yeah.
They kick off their sandals.
Yeah.
Be a good help for getting an advantage and an intimidation if you're trying to do something in an inn or something in a bar.
Or
do this, or you're going to be standing in front of everyone naked. No, I'm not. Undress.
Yeah.
And then they also say it's a political debate, and they're trying to help a political member of a faction win, so they tell the opponent, undress. And then they start disrobing in front of the audience. I mean, maybe they don't have enough time to fully disrobe, but they'll get started until the spell wears off.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they're standing in their skivvies at the podium talking to a crowd. Now they're pretty much naked.
Yeah.
And now they're
It could be really fun. Mm-hmm. It could be really fun. It would definitely change. It would tint the game for sure. Mm-hmm. I think someone in our game's gonna have to do it now. I just need to see how this plays out. But
I think I'm the only one in our campaign with the command spell. So
there you go.
Yeah.
I'll have to try it.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of one-word things you can do with that command spell that are more homebrew than what is actually written out. It just depends on how cool your DM is and whether they're willing to play with you in that space. But I think undress would fall into that.
A note for DMs on that is, if they want to do it, just don't tell them what'll happen. Just say, go ahead and try.
Yeah.
See what happens. And then you dictate and narrate what happens and let them learn from it to see, that was useful or that wasn't very useful.
Yeah.
But as a DM, keep that a secret. Don't explain to them what'll happen and say, well, what happens if I do this? I don't know. Your character's never tried it.
You could certainly try. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, Bruce, you want to give us some of our housekeeping before we sign off?
First off, thank you all for listening, however you found us. If you were shown this or you were given this as a file, you can always find us on your own at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Podbean, which is our host, which we would love if you would go subscribe and comment on there and spread the word, share it with a friend. We don't do any advertising of our own for the most part right now. And we really do cherish that word of mouth. And thank you again to Carter for our opening intro. She is a wonderful person, and thank you so much for all you do for us. You can always reach out and contact us on our socials. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, basically any social media platform by searching at SitDMs1. That is SITDMS1. And you can slide into our DMs on any of those platforms. Also, if you don't have any social media, you can also reach us by emailing the DMs, and that is emailthedms@gmail.com.
And also something cool with the social media platforms that he was mentioning, we do post some extra little stuff on there, like Bruce's ill-advised creature creation corner he just did. Every one of those he takes the time and draws it out.
Yep.
And Nick makes the stat block for it.
Yep.
And we post those up on our socials so that you can use it
and use them. Yep.
So
you have a fully fleshed out character or creature.
Bruce's drawings are so cool. So if for nothing else,
thank you.
Go on the socials just to check those out. Give it a like and follow so that every time he draws something, you get the pleasure of seeing it.
Well,
he's an amazing artist.
Yeah, thank you. Other than that, I think thank you to those of you who sent in questions. Thank you to those who have been sharing our content and spreading the word. We really do appreciate you. And now, I believe we're getting to our quick little quips. Does that sound about right?
It sounds right.
All right, we're gonna go low to high. So that means
I'm gonna have to promise you guys an IOU on this one because I came unprepared.
Oh,
so next time you'll get 2 from me.
Oh, what a cop out,
we can take a break for a couple minutes and you can think of yours.
You want to
just cut out the silence?
Here's what we'll do. We're gonna go around. By the time we get back to you, Nick, you better have something.
Okay, I'll start. Okay. So if you go in to a bar and the bartender asks you, would you like an up dog or a matter baby? What is your response?
What's the matter, baby?
What's the matter, baby?
Not much, baby. What's up with you?
No!
Wait, what's up, dog?
Not much, dog. What's up? They're both dumb. See? See what I did there?
I just want to say flavor is key. Take your quest to Flavor Town. Just
Flavor blast your quest.
Flavor blast your quest. Just every chance you get, throw that little bit of flavor in.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the ability to find steed and make a beautiful steed appear. Yeah, then don't just make it a steed. A binocorn with a freaking mullet named Geralt.
Yeah.
Yes. Whose flesh and hair looks like the universe itself.
Oh my God.
Extremely ethereal.
Yes. Beautiful.
Just add flavor in anytime you can. Make it amazing.
Yeah, make it fun.
Take your DM to Flavor Town.
I feel threatened. don't try and blast me with flavor.
You don't like Guy Fieri? You don't like that spiky hair? He's gonna scare you coming at you?
Guy Fieri.
Okay, Nicholas, so what is your quip?
And here's the silence while I think.
Okay.
Always remember that if you're ever in a time of need and your sleight of hand fails, you can always throw a hogshead of black powder followed by a firebolt, and that distraction will let you get away.
Fluffernutter. Boom, boom, boom. All right, you guys. As always, thank you again for listening. Please share as much as you can. We appreciate you.
And thank you, Joe P. again. Joseph P.
Thank you, Joseph P. Fare thee well and adventure onward.